Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the October 3rd, 2016 Informal County Commission meeting. We're going to call the meeting to order. Our first item of business is we have a citizen that would like to address the commission. Mr. Barry Smitto. Barry, if you would, just come up, give us your address, and try to limit your comments to about 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Durr. 2402 Old Ashland City Road, Clarksville. Had to take a sick kitty that's not mine, a stray cat, to get him taken care of, so I'm woefully unprepared. When I spoke to you last time, I told you about kittens dumped in boxes in front of churches, rescue groups, basically everywhere you can think of. Since that time, Captain D's manager told me about a kitten they found in a puddle of water. Chick-fil-A had one in their dumpster area. Walmart's had at least 2 batches of kittens dumped off. And Animal Control is doing an awesome job. I want them to be funded greatly. I don't know about everything about the bill. I trust y'all on that, but we need definitely to fund them greatly, I feel like. In August, they took in 556 animals. 97 were owner surrender. 254 were processed out. 225 were euthanized, 161 cats, 67 dogs. And again, they're doing an excellent job. There's a Bible quote that says, "Not even a sparrow falls from the sky without God being beside them." Neil Young said he's searching for a heart of gold. There's many hearts of gold at Animal Control, and I'm about to tell you about some more. Y'all probably all know Suzanne Harpel at Cats R Us. I need to take a breath. Okay. She's the one I've worked with most of all. She's awesome. She spends her entire life trying to help cats every day, every hour of every day, just about. Unfortunately, they've been cursed. They've been threatened. They had a guy last week say he was going to shoot their cat if they didn't take him. The concept of shelter, I didn't understand this. A lot of people think shelter so we can do whatever with our pets. I had as you saw in what I gave the handout that you got, there's a lady at the nation's largest retailer that told me she had, I have a tax exempt card, said she had 7 dogs she was bringing to us, and when I said everybody's full, she said that's just wrong. They were actually in Arizona. So you've got people like myself who are out there, and I actually have 2 assisted livings that I'm rescuing cats from between. They and everybody around me lets me go out and holler for the cats. They let me come in my boots looking like covered with mud and farm clothes, because people really, really love cats and dogs too. So you got people like me, you've got Animal Control, who's doing an awesome job, and you have people like Suzanne and all the rescues, the Humane Society. It'd take me 3 hours to even begin to scratch the surface, and I haven't researched it that much. Then you have an amazing thing that most of y'all may not know about. You have a group of people in the county. It's like they're flight controllers, but they're trying to help get the animals placed, so they'll post on Facebook, "This, please, somebody help this one. It has limited time." Charles E. Hand is one, and you talk about a heart of gold. She and there's again, I have 3 minutes, and it'd take me 3 hours to even begin to tell you all these people who are doing that in our community every day, posting, "Please help this one," and lost dogs and cats and stuff like that. So, let's see. The cats and dogs they're really like little people if you get to know them. I didn't realize that until I started rescuing them in 2010. So I have props, Mayor Durr.
Okay. Been 3.5 minutes too, but go ahead, Barry.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I was driving down the court to shoot a 3.5 minute, driving down the court to shoot a documentary, and I looked about right at the foul line, and there was Mayor Durr and all you awesome people, and Charles E. Hand, who actually is part owner of the Grizzlies. So I decided, while I still plan to do some documentaries and stuff, I'm going to hand the ball off to y'all because you're much more capable. And if you network together, let's say you contact Mark Cuban, just all the networking of all the people you know, there's a tremendous need to let people know. There's a show called Save Our Shelter, and we need to stop. We don't need to have a show like that, Save Our Shelters, because we need to educate people to try to help prevent all that from happening. So if I'm at 3.5 minutes, I better wrap it up.
Yeah.
Ben Franklin said an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. Barney Fife said nip it in the bud. So I hope and pray y'all will help us do that.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you. Our next order of business, we have a presentation by Dr. B.J. Worthington, our Director of Schools, on the Clarksville Montgomery County School System Update. Dr. Worthington, good evening.
Thank you. Good evening to you, Mayor. Each year I try to come a couple of times throughout the year and update you on where we are inside of the school system. And so each of you has a pamphlet, and I'm going to briefly go through this, and then I'm going to share a special man's story with you to celebrate him. You'll see on the very front covers are our 16 and 17 priorities, increasing our access to technology, and we've done that through our budget process last year. You all know how we accomplished that. So we have put a lot more technology in all of our elementary, middle, and our high schools. Improving student safety, all of our entrances in the elementary schools have been completed, and then the middle schools and the high schools are scheduled to be completed by August of this coming year. One of the things that we're experiencing, which is happening across the nation, is we've always had shortages with science, math, and special education teachers, and now it's finding its way into the elementary staffing. This is the first time we've ever had to put elementary staff on alternative licensures, but we've got 7 of our teachers because we do not have enough staff that are graduating actually from college, and this is a national crisis. It's not just happening in Clarksville, it's happening everywhere. And also giving our students competitive advantages. What we want to do is make sure that our students have access to quality educational experiences with STEM, our academies, etc. If you open it up, you'll look at our vision and our mission, and you also see a copy of our strategic work. And we do this every day. This is our annual work that's tied to a larger plan. But you'll see that we continue to work on the standards that are being taught, the assessments of safety, efficiency. And so those are things that we continue to work on, and our board here reports on those monthly. On the right-hand side at the middle of that, you'll see the 16-17 data. You'll see that our enrollment's 33,500, and as of today, it was 33,567, and that puts us up over 1,000 students, and that's the most growth that we've had quite a while. We typically grow between 400 and 600 students a year, and this year we're up over 1,000 right now. Excuse me. You'll see some other data that describes our student body. The same thing with the ethnic distribution of our students. In the middle of the page, you'll see our 2015 achievement. That's because you remember last year the testing situation happened at the state level, and we don't have any results from that. We'll get partial results that will come back to us. In the middle, you'll see our graduation rate, and we don't have our current graduation rate because the state has to confirm how many students we've had graduate, so you won't see that. You will see our 15-16 per pupil expenditure. You will also see that we continue to be a large district. We're the 7th largest district in the state of Tennessee with 39 schools, 24 elementary, 7 middle, and 7 high schools, and our middle college at Austin Peay State University. We have 4,733 employees, and one of those is I'm going to celebrate with you tonight, as I said previously. On the back side of that, you'll see our budget for 16-17 and the breakdown of that budget. And you'll also see some pride points that we have across the district. We're extremely proud of our students, our teachers, our administrators, and as a district as a whole, we have a lot of things to be proud of in this district, and much of that I'm coming to thank you for, because through the funding of the budget and the community support that we have, it enables us to do a lot of things with our students, for our teachers, that other districts aren't able to do. I want to draw one thing to your attention, is you will see some data on the graduation rate and dropout rate. That's 2014 and 15. That's not a mistake. Again, the state has just not confirmed that, so that's what you'll see there. So we'll update that once we get that information. As I said earlier, we have over 4,500 employees, and we talk about being the defining difference, and we challenge our employees to be defining difference, and monthly we recognize people for that, being that defining difference. We celebrate people at the first of the year when schools bring a person, and we talk about their story and how they've impacted students. Tonight I want to celebrate, and I'm going to bring Mr. Snow down here. He is a custodian at St. Bethlehem Elementary, and if you'll come on down here with me for just a second. And we're very proud of all our employees. As a group, we're only as good as our individual employees are. And so I want to share the video with him, and his story is going to be told through the video.
Tom has a joy that he just exudes a joy that you can see on his face and his demeanor. There's just a positivity about him that's just, it's infectious. You can tell he loves life. When he started here, he came to me and he said, "Are you okay with me reading with the children?" I said, "Definitely, go in there and read," and he's just done a fabulous job with that. Kids love him.
I just come in on my own time, and I'm not asking them to take anything away from work. I just want to do it on my own time. I don't, it was nothing. I just wanted to do it, and it just worked out nice, and I enjoy it. I come in at 10 or 10:30, and I read before I go to work at 11, and so it's been really nice, and I've enjoyed it. The librarian has picked out new books for me, and I read, and if she gets a new book, there's one book, and it's moo. That's the only word in the whole book is moo, but it's just how you say it. And, try to, to bring that to the kids to let them know that it always don't have to be pictures or it always don't have to be a bunch of words, but that book they loved it last year.
Not a monkey. Come on, monkey.
Tom understands that his job as a school employee is more than just come in, clean the building. He understands that he's an integral part of the staff and the goals that we're trying to accomplish, because we're setting a foundation at this young age for them to love school and love to read, and he understands that. And so I think that's his way of helping us accomplish our goals of helping our students be strong readers, is to read to them.
Tom is an inspiration to everybody. He's always got a smile on his face, and he really builds those relationships. And sometimes, we get busy in the day-to-day of our jobs and the things that are going on that, we forget that everybody, those kids, they're looking up to us. And really, when it comes down to the end of the day, they're going to remember the things that we did and the things that we taught them and the love that we gave them here at St. B.
It's something I'll never be able to explain to probably anybody what it does for me. 23 years in the Army, you get out and you kind of get depressed. There's a lot of things going on in your head and your life, and this is one thing that just makes me happy. Picking up a book and reading and learning, and just I think a lot of kids might not understand what you can get out of a book, or just the enjoyment, and to show them that I enjoy reading a little kid's book, and then they get excited about it and see the excitement about reading. I mean, that's our future, and I seen it with my grandson, so I just wanted to share it because I think he is more prepared for school, kindergarten stuff, just because my daughter and us, we always read to him. And so I see these kids and I just enjoy reading. I mean, people ask me all the time, what do you enjoy doing a custodian job? It's more than just a custodian job. I mean, the kids, I get to see them every day, the smiles and just being happy and just so young and just innocent, it's nice and it makes me happy.
Mr. Snow, thank you for what you do for our kids and the parks. Mayor, thank you for letting me share that and share him with you guys, and thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Worthington. All right, next up are our zoning cases and our public hearing. Dr. Ripple, if you'd come forward just so the folks in the audience, Dr. Ripple will present the first case, which is CZ 15-2016. We'll go into a public hearing to have discussion on that case. We'll provide opportunities for those to speak in favor of, those to speak against. We would ask if there's multiple people speaking for or against that you please don't duplicate what the person in front of you has talked about. And after we hear the comments, we'll close the public hearing and then go to our next zoning case. So our first case again is CZ 15-2016, application to Suzanne Butler from R1 to AGC Agricultural Commercial District. Dr. Ripple.
Evening, Mayor and County Commissioners. There'll be 4 here tonight. There's going to be 4 more next month. So the first case is that of Susan Butler. She is requesting a rezoning from R1 Single Family to Agricultural Commercial. That is a new zoning district that we created in February 8th of this year. One of the things that we also did February 8th this year when he updated the zoning ordinance is that we specifically defined that kennels, whether boarding or breeding, be specifically allowed in only 4 commercial districts. In the agricultural commercial and the C5, it is a use by right with no conditions. In the C2 and the C4 zoning district, the conditions are that the kennel must be inside an air-conditioned building and must be separated from abutting property owners by 250 feet. This rezoning is at 3411 Kirkwood Road. It is just north of the intersection of Kirkwood Road and Dunlap intersection. The applicant states that the purpose of the rezoning is to use the property for boarding dogs. I would point out that this is an instance where the use is to be brought in compliance with the zoning.
Dr. Ripple, if I could interrupt you, I don't know if you've got anything showing yet on your computer, but we're just seeing some colors.
Okay.
I think some technical assistance is coming for you.
Appreciate that. You have to hit the F.
Yeah.
See if that pops up. There we go. Thank you, Mayor. Property is 1.8 acres. You need 1.5 acres for agricultural. There's currently a single-family residence on the property with a detached garage on the rear. This is the property. The sign in front has been removed, and that is the garage in the rear of the property. The property was rezoned from agricultural to R1 in 1983. There is water to the property, but if it becomes commercial, a black flow preventer must be added to the water line. There's no sewer to the sanitary sewer to the property. The Planning Commission staff recommended disapproval. Primary reason being that the rezoning would take the primary use of the property, which is residential, and change it, make it non-conforming, because single-family residential homes are not permitted in the agricultural commercial zone. If the rezoning is approved, then there's also would be a need for a variance from the agricultural commercial, and as much as any residence must be a caretaker residence, and it has to be located to the rear of the commercial operation. No, there was a number of phone calls received in opposition and innumerable emails also received. No one spoke for the rezoning. There were 2 major spokesmen against the rezoning. One was Teresa Oliver, who lives on the property to the north, immediately to the north, and the other was Elizabeth Back, whose family owns, Landis family owns the property to the south that used to be the Kirkwood Community Center. Both of these were against the rezoning because of the noise from barking noise of dogs. There are a lot of questions were raised by the planning commissioners, and as I indicated, the staff recommended disapproval, and so did the planning commission. Are there any questions?
Any questions, Dr. Ripple? Commissioner Harper?
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Ripple, how long has the business been in place on this property?
I don't know. All I can say is that Teresa Oliver to the north indicated probably somewhere around 90 days, it was on Facebook and therefore presumably operating. It was, the reason it's before why there's a rezoning is a property owner complained to code enforcement, and code enforcement had a discussion with Suzanne Butler that said either you cease the use or you get it rezoned such that it would be in compliance with zoning.
Was the property owner ignorant of the regulations?
I don't know how to answer that. I presume, yes, I would say simple.
Okay.
Prior to February 8th this year, it was difficult to regulate any dog kennels, whether boarding or breeding, in the unincorporated area.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vallejos?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess maybe my question, maybe to Ron, and my question is, when are we going to start finding people? I mean, we're bringing these before us, and who knows where else? I mean, do you have people in your office? You know, I'm not trying to look out for trouble, but I mean, we're getting these cases, and people are out of compliance, and then we disapprove them, and they're caught in a mess. So then, once again, we got another case before us. Now it's only 90 days, but when are we going to get to the finding phase? What's it going to take?
Our course of action is we take them to General Sessions Court. We don't have a fine in place that we can find.
So then
we have to take a warrant out.
Mayor, maybe the question, do we take this through our legal counsel? Do we take it to our rules committee to establish such thing, or is it within the legality of this body?
I think we could do that. I think we'll have to probably change some rules. The maximum fine is going to be $50. It'll be $50 per day of every day that the people are in violation. I think in this particular case, I don't want to speak for Mr. Streeter, but when it came to his attention, Mr. Streeter acted on it, told the property owner they were in violation. Their really only course of action was to do a zone change. I think he's letting them go through that process. Unfortunately, we don't have the people to go out and patrol all of Montgomery County, but there is, I think we could do legislation if that's what this body choose for somebody that was in violation of our zoning ordinance to fine them.
Yeah, because I think it'd be smart for us. I think because if we do our due diligence on this matter, I think you know what repercussion is if they violate. There is no repercussion. So I think if we do what's right, we will lay a system in place so that we can find a violator of such ordinance that is in place, and like it's not to hurt anybody, but it's to bring attention, because you can't just go out and put things out of zone. Thank you.
And I would just ask that I'm not sure who's your chairperson of your committee?
Mr. Sokol.
Commissioner Sokol, if y'all would address that at the Building and Codes committee level, make a recommendation, and we'll go from there.
We had discussed that with the director, Mr. Reeder, on the last meeting.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions of Dr. Ripple? Commissioner Sokol?
Dr. Ripple, does anybody know whether or not they have a business license?
I did not check, so I don't have that answer, but
I hate to interrupt, but we're not in public hearing yet, and I think we can ask the owner that question or the representative that question when they come forward. Not with all due respect to you, Commissioner Sokol.
Thank you, sir.
I would only note that if you make any penalties, there are already penalties in the zoning ordinance, and you can establish procedures executively within the department itself, but any specific procedures that go towards zoning enforcement, you'll have to amend the zoning ordinance.
When these cases come before you and it involves involves a business, does the board ask if there's a license involved?
That's not relevant to this particular case, nor is it several other cases. It's obviously one that's important to the community, but whether or not someone's got a business license doesn't have bearing on whether or not a zoning is approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Sokol, I can address one part of that. Kelly Jackson has made it a point here in the last couple of years when people come in to apply for a business license and they're not sure if they're zoned to have that business, they will refer them to us. We've actually cut off a lot of these potential illegal operations in the past, but sometimes people are ignorant and they think they can do, because they're in the county, they think they can do whatever they want and don't realize that there are zoning regulations. But in this case, I'm not sure if the Butlers, did this on purpose or did not know, but we got a complaint July 6th. A violation letter was sent out July 13th. They came in, Miss Butler came into my office August 1st. And I explained to her that they were in violation, that they had to cease. But if she wanted to pursue it to try to get zoned properly, she could apply to rezone the property with the Planning Commission.
Another aspect of this is trying to capture some of that lost revenue for operating a business. If they've been doing it for 2 or 3 years, that may be something that the county may look into.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Questions for Dr. Ripple? Anybody else? I can't see the. All right, at this time, we're going to go into public hearing regarding case ZZ 15, 2016, application to Suzanne Butler from R1 to AGC Agricultural Commercial District. Again, I'd like to remind anyone that speaks, if you would, please come up and give your name and your address, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes and we try to hold you to those 3 minutes as close as we can. So we'll give you a warning when it's time to wrap up. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of CZ 15, 2016? Anyone in the audience to speak in favor of CZ 15, 2016, application to Suzanne Butler? I see no one asking to speak in favor. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to CZ 15, 2016? Please come forward.
My name is Therese Oliver. I live at 300 Hampton Station Road in Clarksville. My husband and I, along with his aunt, own the large piece of property next door to this. The house that we have on that property is located within 100 to 150 yards of the proposed kennel. We perceive it to be a nuisance to our property, even though we are zoned agricultural and we have 138 acres. The house is located right there on that edge of the property. And I have some personal experience with dogs and kennels. My brother and his wife own a kennel in Hawaii that has since turned into the quarantine station. I've been there on many occasions. I'm quite familiar with how loud these dogs can get. Also, in my former life, I was an attorney for the city of Anaheim, and one of my jobs as an attorney, I headed the code enforcement department, was to regulate these barking dog cases. So when you own your own dog, it's hard to control the barking of some of these dogs, let alone a situation where you've got strange dogs who are then combined with each other for a day or 2 days or a week or 2 weeks. So we perceive it to be a very large nuisance and would encourage the board not to agree to do this zone change. Even though our property is agricultural, I think that if you look at that area, it's like a wave, and there is a wave of residential moving into that area. And to spot zone that particular property into an agricultural, particularly with a kennel, in a commercial instance, it would really disrupt the neighborhood. I can tell you that from the property that we actually live on, quarter of a mile away, there's a cement factory, and at night we can hear them going. So if that's right next door to it, it's a big problem for the residents.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any questions? No questions? All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to CZ 15, 2016? Please come forward.
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Black, and I live at 168 West Glenwood Drive. As you heard from Dr. Ripple, my family owns the property on the other side of said property, and it's been in our family since my great-great-grandfather. It was deeded to that community to be a community center and a school before community center. And when it came back in my family a few years ago, we did what we felt was right for the community and took down that dilapidated building. So we would ask that you do what's right for the community and vote against this zoning resolution, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Anyone else in the audience to speak in opposition to CZ 15, 2016? Seeing none, we're now back into our informal session. The public hearing is closed. Dr. Ripple, case number CZ 16, 2016, application of Rachel Shepard from R1 to C5.
This is the application of Rachel Shepard, Chris Blackwell being the agent, rezoning from C1 to C5. The property fronts at 824 Butts Drive. There's currently a single-family residence on the property. Property's about 1.59 acres. The property is located, as you see on the map, north of C5, that's on Dover Road. That is currently being, a site plan was approved for a self-storage facility. To the west is C5, that is Papa Rock, and a retail strip. And at the end of Butts Lane, on the east side of Butts Lane, where you see C5, that is where the Dollar General store is under construction. The C5 at the end of Butts Lane are two recent rezonings before you that were approved recently. There were no adverse comments from any agencies. Would note that Butts Lane, as it fronts the property, is only roughly 13 feet in width. That in the site development stage, if the rezoning were approved, site land were submitted, and access were desired to Butts Lane, that Butts Lane would have to be improved at the site plan stage. It could be that that property is combined with other properties, and access, instead of being to Butts Lane, is through the properties to the south or the west. Would note that was one person who called and asked some questions. There was no person spoke in favor. There was one person who opposed this, who represented a few property owners in the area, Bo Jensen. His concern was that this this commercial zoning was the intrusion into the residential area, that it was on a narrow road, Butts Lane, that was inadequate commercial traffic, and then this is under the growth plan is in the rural area. Therefore, there's no screening or buffering of any commercial use in the rural area. The bottom line was that the staff recommended approval, and the Planning Commission and a split vote recommended against this rezoning. Are there any questions?
Any questions of Dr. Ripple? Commissioner Vallejos?
Yeah, why did the Planning Commission, what was the division there?
There was one in favor of the rezoning and the rest were opposed.
And what was the conversation? What was the reasoning behind it?
They never gave a reason, but I think based on the testimony here of Bo Jansen, that the concern was that they viewed it as an intrusion in the residential area along Bunce Lane.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nichols?
Thank you, Mayor. To answer Commissioner Lazar's question, the vast majority of us on the Planning Commission felt that that property is a commercial property, should enter into the Dover Road, not in a residential road. The road's too narrow, and I don't know if anyone's going to speak against it, but he laid out succinctly the things that would be detrimental to the residents that have lived there. And that should, if he talks about it, he should be able to give you that answer. Thank you.
Dr. Ripple, did you say the staff recommendation was for approval?
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions of Dr. Ripple? All right, we'll now go into public hearing to hear comments relating to CZ 16, 2016, application of Rachel Shepard from R1 to C5. Is there anyone in the audience that would like it to speak in favor of this zoning resolution? If you would, please come forward, just state your name, your address, and try to hold your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening. Chris Blackwell, 2091 Bend Road. Sorry I missed Wednesday. I think I could have cleared some of this up. Can I pass these around?
Sure. Everybody have a copy? If you do, if you don't, would you raise your hand if you don't have a copy? Everybody see one okay? Okay, go ahead, Chris.
I own what's in blue there now, that's already zone C5. We have no access on Butts Lane, as you can see, except for the emergency exit there for the security reasons. So I think this clarifies a little bit. Sorry again, I missed Wednesday.
Yeah, does somebody have a question to Mr. Black?
I guess maybe to Commissioner Nichols, but since we're in public session, I'd just come back to him on this after his public session here. I guess, I don't know if it clarifies anything for the commissioner.
You said you weren't there on Wednesday. If we would have had this, it would have clarified the planning commissioners on the access to Dover Road versus Butts Road, sir.
Yes, sir.
And we did not have this. And it appears that this is some sort of storage facility.
It is.
If we would have known that, it would have saved a lot of time and debate in chambers in the planning commission, sir.
I understand.
Thank you.
He should have had it.
Anybody else have any questions of Mr. Black? Blackwell, I'm sorry, I called you Black twice. I'm sorry, Chris.
It's okay.
All right, is you through?
Just a couple. And,
Okay.
and all the stormwater and stuff, it all stays on and it goes to you can see it on the front left corner of the property. So all water on the whole property goes to that and then ends up going up under Dover Road. And I think that's all I have.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you.
Is anyone else in the audience that would like to speak in regard, in favor of CZ 16, 2016? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to CZ 16, 2016? Good evening.
Good evening, County Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Bo Jensen. I live at Residence 313 Rowan Court, Clarksville, Tennessee. I'm representing my mother, who lives across from the property, and also Todd and Linda Butts, who live kind of diagonal from that property as well. My mother's lived there since 1979 in her residence. Todd and Linda have lived in their residence since 1999. I also own property on Butts Road. There's only one lot that separates this proposed rezoning from my property and my lot. I believe the properties and the families that live on Butts Road will be greatly affected if this zoning is changed. The proposed property is a single family dwelling since 1962 and fronts Butts Road. I will add that this property is going from even though it is proposed to be a storage unit, this property can be sold. So it could change. It does not have to be a storage unit. It can change. It could be anything. It could be sold as anything. So it could be a dog kennel as well. So keep that in mind when I continue. The property does not comply, in our opinion, with the Montgomery County Zoning Resolution C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District General Descriptions. This proposed property is 200 feet north of State Highway 76, US Highway 79, and fronts entirely on a residential county dead-end road. The county road is not equipped nor sufficient to handle public traffic because it is 13 feet in width with no curbs, gutters, and catch basins. My mother's entire frontage of her property will be negatively impacted by a zoning change. In addition, Todd and Linda Butts' property partially fronts the proposed property. Therefore, it will be negatively impacted by a zoning change, and there's nothing these residents can do to screen the activities, lights, and sounds that may occur from a zoning change from R1 to C5. The development of the proposed property would also require the removal of the residents, the sheds, the large timbers that now provide a screen from the sights and sounds of the Papa Rock that is open 24 hours a day. It is located adjacent to and on the southwest side of the subject property. The requested zoning change, we believe, is an encroachment into an existing residential neighborhood, and it is occupied by homeowners. Just because the subject property is joined partially by a C5 zone property does not justify in a rezoning. Again, we want to thank you for your time and listening to our concerns. And I would like to add one more thing. It just hit my mother's property. If you looked at the map, she is onto her right, on the south side of her property is the Dollar General. She has to have a privacy fence built there. But again, there's nothing that she or Todd and Linda Butts would be able to do to screen their properties from anything that could be built there.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? All right, is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to speak in opposition to CZ 16, 2016? All right, we are going to close the public hearing. Any questions of Dr. Ripple or anybody before we go to the next one? All right, next up is CZ 17, 2016, application of Charles Ogden, AG to R1. Dr. Ripple?
Yes, Mayor. This property is located just east of 3650 on Throff Strings Road. It's on the south side of Throff Strings Road. It's a little over 2 acres, 2.39 acres. It's currently vacant agricultural grassland. The purpose of the rezoning is to conform with the surrounding R1 to the northwest and to the south and the subdivision. Charles Ogburn owns the R1 in the northwest corner and is rezoning this tract of land for single-family homes. The frontage is such on Trough Springs Road that the maximum number of lots that he could get off of this is 2. There were no adverse comments by any agencies and no concerns expressed. There was one phone call to ask about the difference between agricultural and R1, and is basically that he could not get 2 units with the ag, but he might be able to get 2 units with the R1 on the property. Brett Lettle with Weekly Brothers did the survey and said the rezoning was due to the width of the lot and setback of the lot from Trough Springs Road. No one spoke in opposition. The staff and the Planning Commission recommended your unanimous approval of this.
Any questions of Dr. Ripple? All right, we're now going to public hearing for CZ 17, 2016, application of Charles Ogburn from AG to R1. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone in the audience that'd like to speak in opposition to this application? All right, we are now closing the public hearing regarding CZ 17, 2016. Dr. Ripple, CZ 18, 2016, application of Clinton Barger from R1 to R1A.
This is a rezoning of just slightly over 5 acres. It is located at the end of Dabney Lane and the Poplar Hill subdivision. The difference between the R1 and the R1A is historically in the R1 you could get 9 lots, in the R1A you could get 10 lots. Clinton Barger indicated in the public hearing before the Planning Commission that with R1 he'd only get 8 lots, and the rezoning R1A would give him 10 lots. So there's only a few more lots that could be added as a result of the rezoning. Would note that the R1A is the predominant zoning district in the area, that the entire Poplar Hill subdivision is zoned R1A. The property to the south owned by Derek Compary is also zoned R1A. Clinton Barger indicated during the public hearing that he was only developing the far western portion of the property, the 5 acres, and was going to retain the balance of the acreage, a little over, I believe, 7 acres, would be where he would place his single-family home. If you look at this aerial photography, you will see a ravine in through the wooded area. There's a ravine on one side of that passes through Barger's property. This comes through from the school through the subdivision, and then passes through 2 different properties before it passes through the Compary property and goes to McAdoo Creek on the south. $16 acres, sorry, that he would retain for his single-family home to the east on McAdoo Creek. Mr. Barger would. No comments or concerns expressed by the various agencies. Certainly the question of drainage came up during the Planning Commission public hearing. Those are things that are usually addressed at the subdivision stage We're at the subdivision stage under new federal, state, and local requirements. Today now, the first 1 inch of storm must be retained on the property for 72 hours, and then there can be no increase in the velocity of water that runs off the property. So there were several questions asked, discussion in the Planning Commission. Clinton Barger said he wanted to rezone the property to match Poplar Hill subdivision to the northwest and build a home on the eastern portion of his property. They would maintain a buffer strip on the east side of this subdivision of 5 acres. Derek Campberry provided photographs and explained concerns about drainage that adversely affected his property. In my understanding, we received calls from both parties this afternoon that they were desirous of deferring this case to work out the drainage issues. Are there any? Bottom line, staff recommended approval, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended disapproval. Planning Commission gave no reason, but based on the testimony, it presumed that it was drainage issues.
Any questions of Dr. Ripple? Commissioner Harper?
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Ripple, do you have opposition to deferring this 1 month to allow the Poplar Hill HOA as well as the contractor involved?
That's in the purview of the applicant to make that request, or you as a body to make that request. The Planning Commission staff has no concerns. The only aspect is this would be normally something that would be handled in the subdivision process and not in a rezoning process.
I will ask my fellow commissioners to defer this a month. I've been out to the subject property actually today and looked at it. There are drainage issues that need to be resolved prior to this, in my opinion. So would ask that. I will be absent next week, but would ask that you do that. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions of Dr. Ripple? I think since the public hearing has been posted, we need to go forward with the public hearing. So we'll move forward with that, and if the commission chooses to defer this at our formal meeting, they can next week. Is there anyone we're now going to public hearing to hear CZ 18-2016, application of Clinton Barger from R1 to R1A. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application?
Good afternoon, Mayor, everybody.
If you would just tell them who you are.
I'm Clinton Barger, 521 Glenstone Springs Drive. I purchased the property to build my somewhat forever home. The backside of the property, like I said, we're going to rezone. It's 5 acres, 5.02 acres. It's zoned R1 right now. I can get 8 R1 lots back there. We're looking to rezone R1A to match existing zoning that's in the Poplar Hill subdivision. I'm going to take the restrictions from 1999, build similar single-family homes back there. Me and Mr. Comperry will be neighbors. We're neighbors now. Mr. Buckner, he's here. This come up the day of, and me and Mr. Comperry didn't get together to really discuss before the rezoning, but now that we've discussed and we're looking to, like I say, defer this out 30 days. We met with HOA at the Poplar Hill and John Doss, the streeter. We all met out there a couple days ago and walked the property, and everybody kind of come to agreement that there's a lot of drainage issues. Mr. Buckner and Mr. Comperry, they've lived there for a long time. I'm new to the subdivision or new to the area, so I can't really attest to what the creek looked like 20, 40 years ago. They've got pictures dated back years, and there's definitely an issue that they've brought up to the attention. Like I say, we've addressed it with Poplar Hills HOA. They're now going to hire DBS to come up with recommendations to correct the issue that's occurring in the drainage. So, any questions?
Any questions of Mr. Barger? Commissioner Gannon?
Yeah. Does the commission have to postpone it 30 days, or can the applicant postpone it as well? You had mentioned. Either one can do it, is that correct?
No, sir. It's within the applicant's control, and it's under your control now since it's introduced here today.
So the applicant cannot?
The applicant can. Planning commission, staff, nor board can initiate action for deferral at their own initiative.
So Mr. Barger, as the applicant, can ask to have it postponed for 30 days at this point in time, and we don't have to vote on it next meeting. Is that correct?
You need to act as a body, as a legislative body, and as much as this has been introduced on the agenda.
Right.
And even though you haven't had the time you're not in formal session to take any motions, I think you need to take a formal action. You could act to defer, who would have to act to defer,
Right.
or act on the case up or down this coming Monday.
Correct. We're saying the same.
Any other questions of Mr. Barger? Commissioner Nichols?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a comment for all the commissioners.
Is this to Mr. Barger?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
When we were in the Planning Commission, you had made a comment that the original build of about 300 lots, the retaining water worked. When the build of the subdivision expanded to about 600, created the condition that you explained to us in the Planning Commission, and what the other gentleman had showed us, the creek and the erosion that took place. So I asked you that question then, and you didn't know. I'm going to ask it again. What could have this body done, sir, when the original 300 lot or a residence build, and then it was expanded to 600, they didn't correct the collecting pond or the holding pond for that water. You're here today because of that. What could have we done, sir, that years ago that would have prevented this where you're here today?
On today, as we stand, 2016,
Yes.
stormwater in the county is huge. You know, John Doss, everybody, they do a great job. The standards have been raised to a different level. The issue that we have is subdivisions like this. The drawings were done in 1998 and construction in 1999. Stormwater back then is not what it is today. You know, there's 284 lots in that subdivision, and you've got all your retention ponds, your drainage, all your basins, everything they get silted up. They get, over time, they get, everybody's yard, they all drain down through there. So there's a maintenance issue. The HOA in the restrictions, specifically says that they are to maintain all the retainage ponds, any kind of runoff that is created through that neighborhood. That's what the HOA fees are for. Nobody in the Poplar Hill HOA, not trying to say it's politically correct, nobody really knows what they're looking at. 2010, I think is correct from our meeting the other day, is they had a company come in and quote unquote fix the issues that were brought up then, but they either weren't fixed correctly or the issues are back. It's from Mr. Buckner. His father has had the property since 1964, and there's areas in the creek that he could walk across, and now they're 6 foot deep. Which, like I say, at the time, me being new to the neighborhood, I didn't. I'm looking at the creek as if that's what it is. Until they brought the issues up, Mr. Compery, and we all had this, a meeting, of the minds, and I'm looking to defer it. I'm not going to move a twig out there until we get the addressed issues completed.
Good.
So that Poplar Hill's not looking at me as if I cause any more. So we're looking to, I think Mr. Compery will agree. I think it's more of a, as we're here today, kind of something that stormwater, maybe we could possibly get somebody to, once a year, check with these HOAs, have an engineer go out, write a letter saying that everything is to standard. If it's in violation, they have a certain amount of time to get it fixed. It's definitely going to be a lot of the construction now is in the county, and like I say, John Dawson, everybody down there doing a great job checking new construction, but it's the existing that is really, it's kind of just a lost cause at the moment.
Thank you, sir. Good answer.
Any other questions of Mr. Barger? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So anyone else in the audience that would like to speak in favor of CZ 18, 2016? In favor?
I'm on the fence here.
You're neutral? Well, anyone that's neutral.
I'm Derek Compery. I reside at 455 McAdoo Creek Road. And I went down to the Planning Commission to talk about drainage because I have concerns, as I have for the last 10 years. As Clinton said, we've got major issues come from Poplar Hills. And, when the subdivision was done, the county required that it was maintained for a year by the developer. And these folks have no idea past that how to do it. And so the structures have not been maintained. If you moved in a house and you never maintained it, it'd be falling down in this amount of time. And these structures have just, there's no way that they're handling the amount of water that the water's just running past everything, just wide open on us. We've got ditches that you could put vehicles in across my property, Clinton's property, Mr. Buckner's property. And we're just concerned that if it keeps going on, it's harming McAdoo Creek. It's creating all kinds of issues. Commissioner Harper came out there with me today. He took an interest to take a look at it. He was shocked, I think, into seeing what was going on. But the county has I know the county highway department does not do any work off the right of way. I've known that for years. I've been a developer in the past. I don't do it anymore. But there's got to be some means that the county can assist, in just finding some way to hold these entities that are responsible for maintaining their own structures responsible for doing so, as far as the homeowner association. If it's nothing else but just reminding them once a year that they've got to do some type of certification or do something. The county comes out and reminds them they've got to cut their grass. They can remind them that they need to check these structures. So, we're just trying to find a way to work together to make this work. And I'm open to suggestions. We're just trying to find a solution.
Any questions of Mr. Compery? Commissioner Harper?
Mayor. Mr. Compery, I really appreciate the time we took today, and I appreciate most of all the cooperation between you and Mr. Barger. Try to work a solution. I think both of you are acting in the right interest here. Certainly, we want to make sure that this issue is presented, this issue is corrected before any more construction takes place. That's certainly where we are. And frankly, on the tour of the property, Mr. Compery, I think, understated what's going on in the drainage area. I passed some of the pictures that Mr. Compery had around. The ditches in some areas of the property are more than 6 feet deep by probably 12 to 15 feet wide. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of trees that are going to fall in that property. They probably already have as a result of that. It's an ongoing issue. So appreciate very much the opportunity to address it.
Any other questions of Mr. Compery? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to CZ 18, 2016? Yes, sir.
Doug Buckner, 3322 Dabney Lane. I lived on the front side of it in the 15 acres that borders on the north side of Mr. Barter's property. We've had that property since 1964. I walk the woods every year squirrel hunting. I'm very familiar with the creek, what it used to be. It's actually a spring-fed little branch, what my grandmama would call it. I could step across it in the 60s and 70s and 80s, just about everywhere. Now, like the gentleman said, it's anywhere from 6 to 8 foot deep, 8 to 10 feet wide. Talking about trees, I have trees that have fallen in. I have trees that are standing and their complete root system is exposed and they're fixing to go. That's money and value. I think that what we're trying to do is to get someone to really take a serious look at what's happened since Poplar Hills has gone in. In 2007, after I retired and come home for a while, I started or initiated something to get done. I contacted Mr. Eric Sims. He walked the property. I contacted several other people. I ended up with, you're going to have to find an engineer and sue somebody. And I sort of let it drop there about 4 months after I initiated it. What I think did happen was that after Mr. Sims saw the damage in one of the dams, which is actually a big funnel that catches all the water and funnels it across my property in 3 places, they did repair that particular retention pond. Since then, it's gotten worse and more worse and more worse. As they say, there's been a lot of water down the ditch now, and it's not getting any better. The dirt that comes off of me and Mr. Barger and Mr. Comperry, that's the dirt that's silting in down below that they've had to fix a few years ago. So if we need to take the time, we need to take 30 days and have people that know go in and look and see what we can do. That would be very good. And I appreciate talking with you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Is there anybody else that wants to speak? We'll now close the public hearing on CZ 18-2016. Our next item of business are our resolutions. Our first resolution is 1610-1, resolution of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners approving amendments to the 2016-17 school budget. Mr. Grant?
Good evening,
Commissioners,
Mayor, Commissioners.
Mr. Grant, Commissioners, have y'all had a chance to look at Mr. Grant's amendments? Would it be fair if, as opposed to Mr. Grant going through all of them, to see if any commissioners have any questions, or would y'all rather him go through them all? Mr. Grant, maybe save your voice a little bit. Any questions of Mr. Grant regarding the amendments to the to the 2016-17 school budget? I can say that this has gone before the Budget Committee. The Budget Committee looked at all these requests. And Mr. Grant, unless you want to add something briefly?
I'm good. As long as you got your questions answered.
All right. Thank you, sir. Resolution 1610-2, resolution to amend the interlocal agreement between the County of Montgomery and the County of Stewart for the joint operation and maintenance of a solid waste collection and disposal system. This is something that Mayor Joyner from Stewart County and I have been working on. As most of you probably know, the Bi-County Board operates based on a interlocal agreement between Montgomery County and Stewart County. This addresses what we felt like were some items that need to be addressed regarding contracts, regarding tipping fees, and it takes a lot of responsibility from the director and places them on the board, the Bi-County Board. Any questions regarding 1610-2? All right, 1610-3 is a resolution requesting support of legislation regarding local determination of broadband and internet services. This is kind of a supporting resolution that goes on top of our legislative agenda item. Any questions regarding 1610.3? 1610.4, resolution to allow a political subdivision of the state of Tennessee to contribute to a tax-deferred retirement plan in accordance with TCA Title 8, Chapter 34 through 37. Tim, do you want to briefly tell them what this is?
Me, Tim, as opposed
Yes,
to Tim
sir.
Swa? Okay. This is what I understand is a part of 3 resolutions that are all coming from HR on all of your benefit plans. It's required to establish in these 3 resolutions that you're a political subdivision to make the changes to the hybrid plan in the TCRS. And if you'll look at Resolution 1610.5 and 1610.6, they are a triumvirate of 3 resolutions. And I wouldn't be, I would be remiss if I were to say to you that Tim Swa has been the person who's carried the ball on this, and I think he's talked to several committees about that. But each one of these 3 are separate pieces of the same puzzle as you switch to that hybrid plan.
And they have to do with who administers our 401k as well. Ms. Casey Lance is here with TCRS. If any commissioners have any questions regarding really 1610.4, 5, and 6. Any questions of Casey? All right, so 1610.5, resolution to consolidate Montgomery County 401A or 401K defined contribution plans, administrator to the treasurer of the secretary, to the treasury of the state of Tennessee. Any questions regarding 1610.5? 1610.6, resolution to consolidate Montgomery County government's 457 defined contribution plan, administrator to the treasury of the state of Tennessee. Any questions regarding 1610.6? 1610.7, resolution to approve an interlocal contract between Montgomery County E911 Board and the City of Clarksville for the purchase of a computer-aided dispatch or CAD and mobile license. Chief Smith, do you want to address this?
Trying to give you the Cliff Note version. The County Commission, the City Council, and 911, as part of their budgets for fiscal year 2017, all appropriated money to fund a computer-aided dispatch and mobile CAD system for Montgomery County Public Safety. Each governmental body taking care of their particular units. It's about a $1.2 million project. Again, the money's already been appropriated, but it is such a large project, we needed guidance as to how it was going to be implemented, who was going to issue the purchase order, how the invoicing was to be handled, who's going to sign the contract, who's going to manage the implementation. And this essentially is what this interlocal agreement does. It sort of mirrors what the city and county did together for City Fire Station 12 and EMS 31. So this is, if you have any particular questions, I can answer them, but that, in a nutshell, is what the interlocal agreement does.
Commissioner Harper.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Smith, just want to say publicly, I serve on the E911 District Board along with you. I think what we're witnessing here is historic. We're having cooperation between the city and the county and moving forward and doing the right things for our citizens in the area of public safety. So I'm very excited about this. There's been a lot of hard work that's been put in on both sides, and everyone has worked together, and it has done a really, really good job doing that. So I want to say publicly, we appreciate it very much, and we're just very, very pleased with all the cooperation. It's been historic.
Absolutely, thank you. And this was a team effort, and as Commissioner Harper said, this has taken about 6 or 7 months, and it's been a team of Chief Edwards and Jeff Truitt and Jeff Taylor, Kurt Bryant, basically everyone that has a public safety interest with the county and IT, and then the same thing with the city and the same thing with 911. So just taking a moment to make a personal comment, as Commissioner Harper did, this is huge. And I just appreciate the support and the cooperation everybody's had, and I know that the city's worked hard on it, and this is good stuff. Good stuff.
Any other questions of Chief Smith? Chief Smith, thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution 1610-8, a resolution approving and authorize the county mayor to undertake efforts to rename a portion of Rossview Road as Hancock Road. For the Budget Committee members, we had that as Hancock Boulevard. We apologize. It is actually Hancock Road. Any questions regarding 1610-8? All right, 1610-9 is a initial resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $20 million general obligation public improvements bonds of Montgomery County, Tennessee. Mr. Taylor, do you go ahead?
This is just the initial resolution for the capital projects that were appropriated for this year. It was about $18.4 million, and this is just the money that will be used to pay for those projects. The next resolution also includes the refunding that we'll be doing for the 2008 industrial park bonds, which is about a little over $11.3 million that we'll be refunding.
Any questions of Mr. Taylor? Resolution 1610-10, resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of Montgomery County, Tennessee in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $32 million in one or more series, making provisions for the issuance, sale, and payment of said bonds, establishing the terms thereof and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, and providing for the levy of taxes for the payment of principal of, premium, if any, and interest on the bonds. Jeff?
Yes, sir. This is just the one where it includes the refunding portion plus the capital projects portion as well.
I would like to recognize Ms. Lauren Lowe. She's with PFM, our financial advisor. Lauren, if you'd raise your hand and say hi. Hopefully nobody has any questions of you. Any questions regarding 1610-10? All right, under our reports, nominating committee nominations, Commissioner Nichols.
Thank you, Mayor. The nominating committee met earlier this evening. We have two committees that we have recommendations for the commission. The first committee is the Delinquent Sales Tax and Release Committee. Charles Keene has been nominated to replace Commissioner Robert Gibbs for a 2-year term to expire October 2018. The next committee is actually the Montgomery County Board of Health. We have Dr. Pike has been filling an unexpired term and is now eligible to serve his first full 4-year term to expire October 2020. We have a nomination of Mark Hackett to replace Dr. Whitfield as a veterinarian for a 4-year term to expire October 2020. And we have a nomination for Kevin Judish, nominated to replace Reverend Harris for a 4-year term to expire 2020. And that's all the committee had this month, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nichols. Under county mayor appointments, this one will require confirmation by the county commission. The Two Rivers Board, Commissioner Jason Hodges appointed to replace Stanley Ross for a 3-year term to expire October 2019. Under your reports filed, you'll see your reports, the minutes, the trustees' release list, and building and codes. Any old business? If I could back up for just a second, I advise the nominating committee and want to let the whole commission know, with Mr. Riggins' resignation, Mr. Riggins served on I don't know how many committees, 3 or 4, maybe 5, and we could have had those at this meeting, but we felt like it would only be fair to have a new commissioner seated because the new commissioner will need some committees. And so whatever's coming vacant next month, and not saying that the new commissioner will go everywhere Mr. Riggins was, but at least give us an opportunity to plug the new commissioner in. So that's the reason those appointments aren't before you tonight, and they'll be before you at the November meeting. Old business? No. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Many of you may have noticed the annual judges waived fees report that we got. The judges received it this past time, and I have found myself inadvertently, I guess, at ground zero, as there has been some discussion amongst commissioners about the amount of money that's being waived by the judges, and some of the judges have been rather aggravated by the totals that have shown up. This was sent out by Mr. Jeff Taylor, and Jeff does an amazing job, and I think the county's lucky to have him. What he sent out is based on information that he gets from someone else. These are not Jeff's numbers, and we have found out that these numbers have been in error. The totals that we have been getting are, may I say, just slightly exaggerated. What's happened is gone are the days when you can put people in jail for not paying fines and costs. They're not here anymore. I remember those days. Now, when a charge is disposed of in court, these fines are made a civil debt, and these are still receivable. We can still get this money back. And what happens is if the people don't pay these fines and fees, then the state will revoke their driver's licenses. So what's been happening as these civil debt have been accruing, they have been turned in to Mr. Taylor as waived fees by the judges. There's also on there that the district attorneys have been waiving fees. They cannot. If there's a fee waived, it's by the judges, it's not by the DAs. Probation seems to be at the heart of this dilemma. They have been turning these numbers into Mr. Taylor, and that's where we've been getting them. They have also, if there's a probation-worthy offense and the judge dismisses the charge, whether, found them not guilty or they corrected whatever the issue was, then those fees go away. You can't fine someone for something they didn't do. If they're not guilty, we can't fine them as if they were. Probation has been turning those numbers in as waived fees under the judges that are dismissing the charges. One judge, now I'm strictly speaking general sessions. Now what's going on the fourth floor, that's a completely different ballgame, and I am not involved at all. But Judge Grimes especially took some issue, and he did an audit of all of his cases for the month of August. And the number that Mr. Taylor received that he gave to us was $9,082.12. Well, it turns out that it was actually $1,090. That's how large of a difference it is. And on some of these other judges where you see larger numbers, I believe the change to be even greater. So just to let you know, the numbers that you're seeing are not exactly accurate, and Mr. Taylor is just relaying what he gets. Thank you.
Taylor. What say ye?
I had a meeting with Judge Grimes and Judge Goebel last week, and just as Commissioner Garland Johnson explained, they're counting those fees not as waived but uncollected civil debt. Now, at the time, I don't think we're currently collecting on a lot of that, but I know Ms. Robertson is looking into potentially finding ways to collect on that civil debt as well.
Okay, so it's either waive fee or it's not waive fee. I mean, it can be.
Technically, it is not a waive fee. No, sir, it is a fee that is uncollected civil debt. But like I said, I don't know that we've necessarily collected on that in the past. And that's something that Ms. Robertson, after our meeting, we talked about it, and she has said she's going to look into trying to find ways to collect on that civil debt as well.
So who's dismissing the debt?
Excuse me, who's
Who's dismissing?
The judges are
if it's an incurred debt, who's dismissing it or
It's not
waiving
being
it? What is?
It's not being dismissed. It's just counted as civil debt, and we're just not collecting on that like we probably should. And Commissioner Johnson, am I saying anything incorrect?
That's exactly it. It's when I first got into this whole line of business, you could hold people in jail for fines and costs. If they had to do a sentence and they finished it and they still owed $200, you could hold them in jail, and it was $5 a day, $10 a day if they worked. You can't do that anymore. So what this is we send them a bill for what they owe, and then it's up to us to prosecute them for not paying if they don't. But some of these fees, fines, and costs that we are showing on this report as being waived are fines and fees that we could not charge people with anyway.
I don't want to blame this on him, but he's the one that told me, the county attorney has advised me that this isn't an agenda item, and technically we shouldn't be discussing it because the public was not notified that we were going to discuss it. Mr. Johnson, I appreciate your willingness to go into the gauntlet, so to speak, and to report this matter. And I know Commissioner Gannon, I know you pushed the button to say something, and I'll allow you comment, and then we'll cease discussion on this matter. And if we need to put it as an agenda item under old business at our formal meeting, we'll do so. With all due respect to every commissioner. Commissioner Gannon?
Mr. Taylor, will you get us a more revised copy of that? And from what I gather here, it's pretty much the only ones that are different are Grimes and Goebel.
Correct.
The general sessions.
All
the other ones
just the adult
are
probation
accurate.
fees.
Right. The other ones are accurate as per your
And I'm still working on that one request that you had before.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gannon. All right. Under our announcements, Commissioner Sokol?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm going to be mean and just remind everybody that tomorrow is Commissioner Janice's birthday.
All right. Commissioner Janice, happy early birthday to you. I thought you were going to talk about court fees. I saw you up there. I didn't know what you were going to talk about. But under our announcements, just a reminder that Congressman Blackburn will be in town on October 19th and would like to meet with the County Commission in the large conference room at 5:00 p.m. to update you on what's happening in Washington, D.C. If you could, please make every effort to attend. If you haven't confirmed your attendance with Debbie, please do so. This is typically a very informative meeting. You're invited to attend the 30th anniversary open house celebration of the East Montgomery Volunteer Fire Service on October 8th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at their station, which is located at 200 McAdoo Creek Road. This will include food, demonstrations, inflatables, and a visit from Life Flight and much more. Ma'am? Mr. Joe, you and technology, I'm not sure. Yeah, y'all are just way above me. Just a reminder to the commissioners, packets of all the applicants who have submitted paperwork for the District 4 Commission seat as of September 26th have been provided to you in your Dropbox. Any applications received after that date will be placed in your Dropbox on Monday prior to the formal commission meeting. And just briefly, I'd like to go through this process with the commissioners. I know some commissioners have been here and been involved in the replacement of, I think we did a judge, I think you've done a sheriff, and a county commission seat, several county commission seats, but I know there's several commissioners that have not been a part of that. Just a couple of things that we were required to place a notice in a newspaper general circulation in the county 7 days prior to the meeting of the body. We have met that. Registered voters of the county are allowed an opportunity to submit names to the county legislative body for consideration. Such names may be submitted in writing to the chair prior to the meeting or may be submitted in person at the meeting. So that is something that can happen. In order for a name to be considered, a member of this body must subsequently nominate the person. Members of this body may also nominate a candidate or candidates to fill the vacancy without such name being submitted by a voter. In other words, you could nominate someone from the floor. All nominations do not require a second. If the person nominated is not present at the meeting, the person making the nomination shall submit a signed statement from the nominee that the nominee is willing to serve in the position appointed. And all nominees shall be required to accept their nomination before being considered for appointment by the county legislative body. At the end of your agenda in your drop box, there is some information there, and quite frankly, I forgot what it was, but it's important.
Copy of the ballot.
Oh, yes, there is a copy of the ballot, and as you can see, if you went to the bottom, it shows the district number, it shows the county commissioner's name, and it shows the vote number. We have 5 people that have currently gone through the process. Those names are listed on the ballot. There's room for a nomination from the floor if we need to add someone to the ballot. Each time we vote, we'll pass these ballots around. Everybody will submit their ballots. We'll ask if anyone wants to change their vote. That's part of our rules. So if Mr. Gannon, for instance, wanted to change his vote, we can find his ballot and give it back to him. Once he's changed his vote, Ms. Jackson will tally the votes. And Skip, I don't know if you can put this up on the screen for us. And why Skip's hooking this up, we actually tried to figure out a system where we could do this with our voting system, but we just weren't able to do that. And also, just as a reminder to the body, as Skip is hooking that up, for a new commissioner to be seated will require 11 affirmative votes from this commission. It is the majority of the elected body, not of the folks present. I know we've got some members that won't be here next week. So Skip, do you want to say anything about this?
All this is just a visual representation of how you've cast the votes. Previously, I think it was done on the document camera, and this is just a digital version of it. It does some auto checking, so if we were to remove that, it would show absent here in this block. And as we cast votes, for instance, you have to be present to be able to cast a vote. So if I were to put an X in someone's vacant, it would show an error. I mean, all it is just error checking, so nothing fancy. At the end, it will tell down here in the bottom right-hand corner, it would say pass if there was enough votes to pass, more than 11, or 11 or more. So 11 or greater, right? Yeah. 11 or greater. Right.
So any questions from any commissioners on this process? Again, I don't want to keep you out any later than you have to be, but I know some commissioners have not been through this process, and we thought it'd be a good idea to just give you a brief overview of how it's going to be handled. Any questions of anybody? All right. We have no further business. We'll stand adjourned. Thank y'all.